Diana, how did you find Carnivore?
Hi, Dave. I found Carnivore when I was watching keto videos, and I came across Michaela Peterson, and I thought she was completely crazy. I'd spent most of my life not eating meat, not wanting to eat meat, pretty much starved of good nutrition since I was weaned. And I think that's why I actually originally wanted to become vegetarian, is because we'd never been fed meat except these ghastly sausages with bristly bits in. And so when my mum remarried and my stepfather was really hot on nutrition, I was really resistant. I was like, I don't want to eat this horrible stuff, you know. And I was rail thin and like tiny. I could put my hands around my waist with no problem. Um, and as a growing at that point, like 12 years old, when I could get my hands around my waist, I'm still growing. I was not getting nutrition then or ever until I did the carnivore diet. So it was Michaela Peterson, and it just kept playing through my mind, thinking, have I been wrong all this time? Because I'm so ill all the time. I've had ME for 45 years or something, as a recognizable thing for 40 something years. And I just couldn't make it go away. And I was doing everything that I could think of. So it just kept going through my mind, and I'd done keto and was very interested in it, and it was useful for dropping some weight. But it was still quite complicated. I have so many different things going on, and these things are slowly getting better. Next week, I'll be 1 year on carnivore. But I'd also say imperfect carnivore, and I'm still working on that and what I need. And that's kind of the thing, is it is a puzzle, isn't it? It's a puzzle for each of us to find what actually works. But the great thing about the videos and the people uploading so much content on YouTube is that you can find little nuggets of wisdom all over the place, and little things that you recognize, and pull them together and make a plan and try it. And you can only find out by trying it. And because we're all so different, we all have such different histories and such different imbalances. There isn't a one size fits all. So it's complicated, but I think I'd had a brush with almost being pre-diabetic. So I actually got quite cross with my doctor when I read the blood results that she hadn't told me. She'd just said it was fine. And I was at 40 or 42, and 42 or 44 now is considered pre-diabetic. The relationship to pre-diabetic and the difference that I made by going keto again, and really all I'd done was eat more butter and eat only bread and cakes every single day that I made myself, and I knew what ingredients were in it, and it was organic flour and things like this. That difference brought me right down to 30 something, and a long way from being pre-diabetic. And so that convinced me that fat was not my enemy. All my life I'd thought it was my enemy. You're supposed to eat low fat, and being a perfectionist, it means that I was really trying to do zero fat.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so that when you brought your pre-diabetes,
Mm.
or you brought your numbers down, um, that was before carnivore, but
Yeah.
because you did that with high fat, that was your kind of that was your understanding that okay, fat's not bad.
Yeah.
So you were more open to carnivore when it came up.
Yeah, I think so. Um, and I was also aware that women in general don't eat enough protein. I was pretty sure that was true for me, and that I was focusing on the second grade proteins, the beans and things, which I don't think should even be called protein foods anymore at all, because you can hardly access it. And they say that if you have beans with rice, hey, well, you get every essential amino acid that you need. But actually, you barely get anything. There's still nothing in there. You're still on basically nutritional starvation almost. So it helped me think not only about fats, but about animal fats. And that, of course, has been the biggest no-no in the health world, and what we're told to do for so long. Even, you're allowed fats like olive oil, if you can afford such a thing, if you can find such a thing, to be honest, that's not adulterated with other stuff. But, animal fats, that's the ultimate toxin. It's just, oh, goodness me. Yeah, I find it so devastating, actually, that we've been given this wrong information for so long. It's just,
Yeah. So what when you first went carnivore a year ago, what was the signal that you got that oh, this is the right thing. I should be doing this?
oh my goodness, yes, pain disappeared. Lots of pain disappeared. I still have pain, but specific ones disappeared. The arthritis in my hands disappeared, and I could go back to doing art. And so a year of doing art, and my goodness, I'm doing some absolutely stunning stuff. I'm going to do an exhibition in the summer next year. They do open studios here where you just open up your space and people come and look at things. So I'm going to risk that next year. It's very exciting. Um, so my hands came back. I can carry heavy things. I'd gone from using lovely, great big ceramic mugs like this to using teeny weeny mugs to using plastic mugs because my hands just couldn't cope. And I've been able to get rid of all those hideous plastic things from the cupboard. I can carry heavy plates. I can, you know, I mean, I keep chickens. I lump around 20-kilo sacks of chicken feed and things. So my hands are so much better, and it's such a joy to be able to do creative things again and to be busy. So that pain has gone. I also had hip arthritis, and they told me that I needed surgery. Probably it would be about 10 years before I could have surgery. And it's just like, this is just such a nonsense thing to say to somebody. You need surgery, but you can't have it for 10 years, by which time I would have been going on 70. So you're wasting the last 10 years. I can't do anything. By the time I'm 70 and my muscles have degenerated so much because I can't do anything, it's kind of like a death sentence. It isn't, but it's kind of like a sentence to minimize your life, which is nearly the same thing. And it's so stupid. And I still have a little bit of pain in my hip, but it's so far down that I've reduced my medications down to 1/6 of the daily dose, down to the absolute minimum, which is huge. And I'm walking my dog more. She even sometimes gets 2 walks in a day. She is so happy. Oh my goodness. She's just like bouncing around saying, yay.
Wow. So does that mean you're not going to need the surgery?
Yeah, no surgery. No surgery.
Wow. That's awesome.
It's totally amazing. I'm so glad. And I figured that yeah, you can do exercises for this bit and that bit, but some things you just actually have to do normal movements and keep doing the normal movements, even though it's a bit squeaky and a bit painful, because that's how you actually build up the strength to do the normal movements, is by doing them. And so I figured all I need to do is walk the dog. That's it. Just walk her as far as I possibly can. And some days it's not very far, and some days it's quite a long way. We were out for nearly an hour a couple of days ago, and that's just been impossible for decades. So she's very happy.
So when it's a short walk, is that because the pain comes on, or is that just because you're tired?
It's actually mostly because I have other pain in my legs, which comes from varicose veins. And again, you can't get treatment for them. And they're getting worse and worse. And the pressure is just intolerable. And it also makes me weak because I don't know why, but somehow it makes my legs weak so that I feel like I'm having to physically, with my hands, pick my legs up. I'm not, but that's how it feels. So, I'm hoping that that could get a bit better in the future if I can, as I continue. It's not an if, it's a definite. As I continue with this carnivore diet, I'm hoping that will also improve. But there's obviously a lot of work to do, and it is happening. Oh my goodness, funny things happened. Like I started getting really, really itchy patches on my legs, and I was going scratchy, scratchy, and these little red bumps. And a couple of days later, I would look, and all these hairs had come back on my legs that had disappeared, and on my toes. And ladies don't really want hair on their legs or toes, but it's such a really good sign of insulin resistance going down. And it's just, wow. I was so excited. I was telling my daughter, and she was going, yeah, I don't want that. And I'm just going, yay, hair's coming back on my legs. And ridiculously, my face had got a bit fuzzy as well. Well, that's reduced. So that hair growth was caused by the insulin resistance. So it was all coming off onto my face, off my legs. Definitely, I'd rather have it on my legs any day. Any day.
Right. Right. So it's just migrated.
Yeah, it's funny. And it's so funny
Right.
we are as well, but that's okay.
So you were on with me recently,
Mm.
and we were discussing, there are some challenges as well. Um, since we last spoke, has anything changed about the way you're eating or anything about your health situation?
Yeah, I mean, several things have got better. Um, Things related to protein have got better. So my nails have lost all the ridginess that seems to be a thing that happens as you age, but actually it's not. It's just a degradation due to malnutrition. And so they're now beautiful. I'm forever having to trim them because it's just all the time. My hair has always been like fine, fine, fine baby hair, always. And it's got a little bit more thickness and body, and I'm really enjoying that. I mean, it's always just been like flat. And so I get a little bit of movement, which is quite nice. But it's something that I can really notice myself, even if other people might not particularly notice, and that's fine. But the colour coming back, that's pretty good. Still, wee bit grey. I'm 64 next week, and but there's quite a lot of colour come back. Definitely come back. Also, some regrowth around here. So I don't know why insulin resistance makes the hair grow in the wrong places, but and not in the right places. But I guess it's hormonal, isn't it? It's all about the control of the hormones, and that's lovely. That's improved. I've improved the pain. I'm down on lots of medications. I'm down on my asthma medications. What else? I think the pain thing, I also have this awful pain in my shoulders that affects my arms. I can only assume, because the doctors are absolutely unable to diagnose it, they just call it chronic pain syndrome. I think it's like shorthand for, yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, chronic pain syndrome sounds Latin for I've got no idea.
Yes, exactly. Very funny. But it is better. But I think I'm hoping that it will continue to get better. And the ME thing, certainly, and it's probably related, is to do with demyelination of the nerve cells. That's the, where the pain comes in and energy goes to the wrong places again. And so the high fat diet, the higher fat, is really helpful. So I'm sort of stuck in this quandary where I still really want to lose so much weight. I lost 30 to 40% of my body weight, and that's huge. That was doing the carnivore. And
So that's just in the last year.
yeah, in the very first bit of it, yeah. And that's really huge. But of course, I want to be perfect and I want it all to go. And a lot of videos talk about, well, you don't really need to eat the fat because your body's got the fat. And so I'm forever thinking, oh, I need to eat less fat. But I don't think I can, because I've not got the right fat in my body. I've not got the fat on the nerve cells that I need. And I think I need to be focusing on the animal fat and not reducing it, even if I don't lose weight straight away, even if I don't lose weight at all. Actually, it would be better to be overweight and have functioning nerves and less pain. But it's a real trauma frequently for me to go through that thought process of, I should eat less fat. No, but I need the fat. And it's hard. It's one of these things I need written down so that I remember why I'm doing that bit.
Right. I think one of the most important things to remember, though, the whole time is with when you're eating the fat, it's going to keep you from overeating because it's going to keep
Yes.
you satiated. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful, because I do still sometimes get that moment where I'm like in the kitchen wondering what I can eat next. And I think this is also a problem that I've been having, is that it's quite hard for me to stay in ketosis. And I found the reason for that now is that I was underestimating how many carbs I was eating in things like cream, double cream, heavy cream. It can be 3% fat. And if I'm having that in lots of cups of tea, that could be, I figured, about 8 grams a day just in my cups of tea. And then I would have now what I figured to do for that, because I really like the cream and it's working, is to ferment it. And that consumes the sugars. So I do that by just putting it on the counter with a little bit of cider vinegar in it. Simple. And after a few hours, I put it in the fridge and it continues to get thicker and thicker. And it's really great. But that's put me back into quite high ketosis, just making that one change. So hopefully I can still continue eating the cream. but I have to give up my little one square of chocolate and things I'd started adding in, like an avocado that can have 12 grams of carbs in it, and that's way too much for me. Not only because it's sugar, but also because it feeds, I think there's a SIBO problem, fermenting upper gut problem. I've been reading and listening a lot to Sarah Myhill lately. I had this book years ago, the myalgic encephalomyelitis book, and I've got several others. And I was noticing that when I had cream, I would be a bit burpy. And I thought, okay, something going on. So fermenting it and using certain supplements to kill off the little wretches, as she calls them, the bacteria overgrowth that's in the upper gut. And that's really, really working as well. And she likes to recommend that people do it with a great big dose of vitamin C. But I couldn't do that because it turns into oxalates in the body. And when I tried it on quite a moderate dose, the pain just came back. The pain in my arthritis and my hips and my feet and my ankles and the knees and, and I can't do that. So I do it with iodine instead. And she talks about how to do that. And also by starving them by removing the remaining carbohydrates. So the two together. And it's really only been a week, I think, that I've been fermenting the cream. But it's really worked.
So just in that week, you're feeling better?
Yes, but also ketone count has gone way up. And that should lead to more improvements of other things. And what I discovered is a lot of videos talk about heavy cream is pretty okay for most people, but not cheese. But it seems that cheese has even less sugar than cream, in fact. So, however, at the moment, I need to avoid that as well because I just need to bring it right down and kill off these little wretches.
I think definitely the thing with ketosis I've noticed over the years is when you've been in it for a while, your body dropping out of it happens much more kind of quickly. You don't need as many carbs to fall out as, as you could have started with a higher level of carbs, but then once you've been in it for a while, like a small amount will knock you out. At least that's what I found over the years.
Yeah, I think that mirrors my experience of doing the keto diet at 20 grams of carbs a day was really effective, a decade or so ago. And now I can't do that level. And in a way, I think it's because I wonder if it's because we've killed off quite a lot of the bacteria, the microbiome that eats those carbs. But the ones that we're left with, the more persistent ones are the less helpful ones. And that's why, because I don't think I had a SIBO problem before, it was a new thing. And I think that's because Sarah Myhill says they can live, or somebody else says they can live on like a pinhead of carbs, and they can keep going for quite a while. So that means that even a very small amount, you might not be getting rid of them unless you're killing them with something else. And then there's another thing going on where some of this microbiome, some of the bad bacteria and the good bacteria, they live on something else, which I can't quite remember what it's called. It's like the mucosa of the stomach. I don't know, something like that. So it's really complicated, and that's why it can take time. And I'm a year in, and I'm still finding what works for me, because you have to try things, don't you? That's what science actually is, isn't it? It's experimenting, and I'm an experiment of one.
I think the important thing though is over that year you've found a direction you can go in.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the worst thing is where you're just kind of sitting there thinking, what am I going to do about my
Mhm.
health? Yeah, when you've actually got a direction you can go in where you feel like I'm going to be able to make small adjustments here and eventually find the right path forward is the most important thing, I think.
I think you're absolutely right, because that's exactly what I used to do. I used to sit here think, what can I do? And I would go and eat every sweet thing in the cupboard to comfort myself because there was nothing I could do. So yeah.
So, what's your focus going forward now? It's like doing the Sarah Myhill kind of protocol.
Yeah, I'm doing that, and just cutting out the rest of the carbs and not being silly about it. I'll be happy if I can keep just the fermented cream, which at the moment is working great. Then that's great, because it's a real pleasure to me, and we need that real pleasure. And so I'm basically focusing on beef, pork, fish sometimes, eggs, because I keep chickens. There's one out there shouting at the moment. Um, what else do I eat? I have butter, but I'm doing more tallow, and I am cooking my meat with tallow, but also something I'd figured out a while ago and put into practice when I heard Ken Berry saying it, was that if you like really overcooked meat, which I really did, because I knew perfectly well that it made it sweeter, he said you really kind of need to bring that back and get to less well cooked. And so I've been working on that, because I recognize that that browning of the meat, you're making glycation end products, and these are not what we want, and glycation is not what we want at all. So I now cook it in the oven in a casserole with a lid on, with some added fat, maybe some stock cube, depending on the cubes, and some water as well, to both keep it moist, but also it starts breaking down more of the collagen in the meat and makes it more immediately accessible, and you get this wonderful tasty broth as well. So yeah, learning these new habits. So it's basically beef, pork, eggs, butter and tallow.
And that's 2 times a day, 3 times a day?
Twice a day now. Settled into twice a day. Doesn't really matter what time, I just eat whatever time. Um, it's really good. I did feel I had to do a refeeding, and reverse dieting for a bit, and it didn't take very long before I was just happy doing 2 meals a day. And so I think that was a real thing, but that I fixed it.
Nice. Um, well, it's good to hear that things are moving forward for you. It'd be great to have you back on in a few months, just do another update and see how things are going.
Sure, of course.
That'd be awesome. So in the meantime, Diana, is there a way people can reach out to you?
Um, I do have a little tiny, I don't really do anything on it, a little tiny YouTube channel, but you can message me on it. I think I gave it to you before. Um,
No worries. I'll pop that in the show notes. Thanks for coming back on, Diana, and letting us know how things are going. I really appreciate your time.
no worries. Thank you, Dave, for all you do. It's wonderful.